the game of the Buffy role-playing game. There's like actually a pen and paper Buffy RPG that's quite fun. And I made like a pyromancer, and I had this ability where I just like, I had yeah, essentially, pyrokinesis. And I would just like, you know, shoot fireballs from my brain.
Fire starter.
Yeah. And I remember I got a kill on like a vampire. And normally, he was also my first dungeon master, and it was totally spoiled after that. It was awful. So whenever you kill somebody in his game, you know you've killed somebody when you hear the words, "So how do you want to do this?" And normally there's like a big eruption, a cheer on the table, and that's him telling you to describe how you do the final killing blow on the enemy. And so that's what I was used to. And then I go into this Buffy RPG with a totally different game master. And he was like, all right, kill the vampire. And I was like, oh, awesome. Okay, so here's what happens. I start concentrating really hard, and fire starts kind of lighting up in my eyes, and then it just erupts from my head, and it goes arcing over the room, and just hits me, bursts into flame. And he goes, yeah, pyrokinesis doesn't really work like that. And I was like, well, pyrokinesis isn't real, so does it really fucking matter? Just let me kill the guy the way I want to. I'm gonna shoot fire out of my eyes. I was pissed. Like, don't tell me how pyrokinesis works. It's not real. But yeah, that's my bad tabletop story.
Your fantasy was not good.
Your imagination is incorrect.
Actually, your ship doesn't have that type of warp drive capability. None do.
Needless to say, I didn't play that game very much longer.
How did you guys start out as voice actors?
Poor.
Relevant age.
I was already acting in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and I had an audition. I mean, I wish I had a more interesting story than that, but I auditioned for my first voice acting job was like radio and industrial films, like the new Cannon, blah blah blah. We can help you do this. Oh, these 6 steps. Crap that you get like when you buy something, and you have to put in this disc of like, watch how my product works. Or if you work at a store and to help other people sell the product. That's the kind of stuff I was looking for. So the first ever anime audition that I had was with Funimation, and it was the first ever auditions that they had in Texas, because they had been recording people in Vancouver for the service back. So I was in round 1 of anyone that they had ever hired from Texas to work in voiceover. And that was in 1997.
Pass.
Oh, we love you. I got started in voice acting because I was already an actor.
Yes.
Studying to receive my degree. I was months away from getting it, and I took a tour of the Funimation Studios given to me by this guy named Matthew Mercer, who at the time was like a newbie sound engineer, and now he's the head of the sound engineers. That was 10 years ago this past January, which is really wild to me. Crazy. So I was just on a tour for fun because I liked anime. That's what it was about. It's checking out the studio because I like anime. And because I was an actor, when we went into one of the recording rooms, and I met Eric Vale and tried not to pee my pants because I knew who he was. I thought he was dreamy, and I had a crush on her chunks. And just played off, like, oh, hey, Eric Vale. And when there was no one recording at the time, and when he asked me, okay, who are you, what do you do, whatever, not really paying attention. He's like looking over his script or something. And when I said that I was a theater student, he's like, oh, he sits up and starts going, okay, yeah, get in the booth if you don't mind, just get in there. And I'm like, what's going on? Okay, like playing it cool, like, oh, sure, no big deal, it's fine, great. And he's like, yeah, just say this line. So I ended up recording the line, ugly creep, how about I mace you? And it was I don't know if it's this kind of mace or that kind of Anyway, they actually used it, and it's just a mental line in Yu Yu Hakusho. When I came out, he goes, "That's great. Give your information to Tara down the hall, and you can work here." It's like, what? Trying to give him my headshot and resume over down in the car. He's like, "I don't want that. Just give her your phone number." You can work here. I'm like, oh, okay. And like 3 or 4 days later, I was there recording. Chris Sabat was my very first director on working on Case Closed. And some of the other directors know that I came to the studio on a tour and I just haven't left.
And
Longest tour.
And probably since about the time that she did that, that has never ever happened again, nor will it ever happen again.
No.
There doesn't be tour, hey, you want to do this, you're hired. That doesn't
Yeah,
happen.
it never happens. It was honestly just a matter of being in the right place at the right time. Because Funimation was going from being this company that was the Dragon Ball company, and like that's what they did. And they just started doing some other shows like Fruits Basket and Blue Gender.
Blue Gender, yeah.
And Kitty Crate, I think.
Yeah.
And so, but then Case Closed comes along, and it's a show where you have a cast of like 5 that are always there, and then a new cast every single episode. You get new people. So they had to exponentially grow their talent pool. So they're like, oh my gosh, you can read and you know how to act, you can work here. And that's how it happened. But yeah, that's my story.
Real quick, I should have earlier panel, but I got started when my father was an audio engineer for a posting house in Los Angeles, and he was laying down music and effects for foreign films and stuff. They had different clients. One of their clients was a company called Animes. They did a lot of anime, like the Fist of the Stars series, Trigun, Cowboy Bebop, like a lot of West Coast anime at the time. And director Joe was a musician, and my dad was a musician, so when he would sit in on the session and lay down the music and effects, they would chat about music, they would be jamming on the weekends, and so then my dad started going in doing some bit voices and background stuff for anime. And I was like fresh out of high school and doing a lot of community theater, and I was like, this is the coolest thing ever, Dad! He's like, well, you want to come watch your old man record some cartoon voices? I'm like, yeah, that'd be great! And so I went and watched him do a background session for the Fist of the North Star television series, so it was 3 hours of watching my dad have his head explode. You know, for 3 hours. That was the coolest thing, and we're having a break in the middle of me watching the session, and Joe was talking to me, he goes, I like the tip of your voice. How about you step in for the second half of the session, you know, throwing the kid a bone. And I'm like, yes, gee golly, sir, that'd be great. And I go in there and I do some heads exploding, and some like, hey, you, and get that guy, and little one-liners, and I thought this was the coolest day of my life. And then they stopped calling my dad and started calling me and stuff. He wasn't angry. If anyone else would have been angry. But that was my first taste. And I did some more work here and there with Joe and Kevin Seymour, who unfortunately recently passed away. And that was kind of what it first told me that this was even a possible option. Before that, I was like, voiceover is untouchable. And so that was the inspiration to work hard and try and pursue it from there.
We have about 10 more minutes, so we're trying to using this if we want. I know, it goes fast. Is there a panel in after this? We did start about 15 minutes late. I'd be okay going over because I feel bad. A panel is new.
Okay, so there is a panel left. Alright, so we do have like 10 minutes.
Next question.
Good question.
Good, intense question.
Who wants to pick? Mike, you pick.
Okay, I shall pick way over here. Oh, okay. Yes, sir. Let me know.
Specifically, it's about cabling for that.
No, I really don't, because most of the people I deal with are either professional voice actors, and they've been doing it forever, or it's someone that's new to the industry that wants to prove themselves. So the last thing that they want to do is not what I say. You know, they're not going to like, I think my character would do this, and screw you, man who hired me, who's supposed to pay me and hire me again. They're not going to do that. So luckily I haven't had to deal with someone whose ego is so gigantic from doing all sorts of other stuff before they get in there for me to direct them. And even if they did come in like that, I would probably take it upon myself to be a harsher director on them so they can knock a couple of notches out of ego just because they need it.
Yeah, I think for the most part though, voice actors are pretty chill.
Well, yeah, for the most part, they're pretty chill people.
Kind of some of the chillest people in the industry, actually.
Yeah.
Some of my favorite people. So,
Indeed.
I like Beanie Hat. You. Yeah.
So you seem to be fans of group games. Have you ever played Cards Against Humanity?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. We have the bigger blacker box.
Have you discovered the card in it?
The bigger black. The biggest blackest dick.
Yeah.
What was your funniest like card combination, if you can remember?
My favorite card combination? One of my favorite cards in general, just one of my trump cards, is bees. The only two colors are bees. I also
Was it multiple stab wounds?
multiple stab wounds.
Yeah, it's pretty great. My favorite card combination I've ever seen. It's horrible. It's horrible. It's to me the epitome of the game, and it made me feel so awful for loving it and choosing it. But the category was blank. Good to the last drop.
Oh, this was mine.
Yeah.
Now I laid this one
Yep,
down. I
and
was
the winning-
so proud of
and the
it.
winning card was the Trail of Tears. Good to the last drop.
My favorite card, is this an 18?
It's 11.
We're talking about Cards Against Humanity. My favorite card, and that combination is just is my dad's dumb fucking face. That card makes me laugh every time I hit it. There's someone just sitting in their basement, just thinking the whole time. That will always be funny as hell.
Another question?
This guy right here.
Okay. 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 I'm really a single level. I like the way you think.
In the Adventure Time game, if you put syrup on your pancakes, they're more powerful.
Just saying. This is the world I live in, gamers. Who do I think would win in a fight, or who would I just prefer to fight? Who would I choose to fight? Oh man, I'd probably try for Leon. I'd probably try against Leon. Right. I think that's what I would do. Well, no, I could just make pasties out of the waffle. So I just like take my top off and make pasties, and then you're just distracted by waffle pasties, and then I stab you. Yeah. Talking about stabbing my boyfriend. All right, next question.
Way back to red shirt.
What gaming achievement are you most proud of?
But gaming achievement are you most proud of?
Gaming
As
achievement.
in like, bloop, achievement unlocked?
Yeah, any achievement.
Just age.
Let's see. I don't know if I have just one in particular. There's some things that I think are really cool. I like, even though the game as overall wasn't reviewed very well, or I liked being in that Walking Dead game because I love The Walking Dead. So now I'm like, I'm part of the universe. And then same with Street Fighter X Tekken. You know, I played Paul Phoenix in that, and I played Tekken forever. I love being part of the Tekken universe. So.
Honestly, I'm gonna say one of my favorite gaming universe achievements is just being able to be a female who's allowed to talk on camera about games. Because, and there's only after battle, and I still get called fake all the time. And that's fine, whatever. Yeah. But, yeah, I was proud to kind of be a part, because I kind of started hosting back in like 2008, 2009. And that was when a whole lot of like the gamer girl controversy thing kind of, the whole, no, she's pandering to nerds, all that kind of started happening. And I got kind of caught in the middle of it in a weird way too. And we make great strides, and I think overall the female community in general is gaining a lot more respect. And that's thanks to a lot of you guys for accepting us too. So, yeah. Marisha Ray.
I think my answer is similar to Mike's. Growing up, there were a few video games that I played as a kid because we just didn't have the money for a system or anything like that. But my mom used to work at Target, like upstairs in the offices and stuff. And so in the summertime, I'd go with her, and they took one of the Super NESs from the electronics department and put it in the employee lounge. So I would just sit there and play Street Fighter 2 like all day, and like beat the game with every character that I could, and that was like my thing. So it's really, really amazing now, like to be a part of the Street Fighter world. Like I really like, what kind of life am I living? That was just so bizarre, and to play such a fun character because I love being British, and on top of that, beating like real British people for the role is just like an extra cheer.
As far as the real gaming achievements go, I'm going to have to say the one that took me the most time. It wasn't necessarily difficult, which is very time consuming to go out of patience, but I remember my first playthrough of Final Fantasy VII in high school, spending the time to produce for each member of my level 99 party a full set of master materia. You know, Master Summon, Master Magic, and Master Command, along with W Summon, and my materia, and then fill all the rest out with Magic Plus for every single member of our party. You only really need 3 sets and you just switch it because you only have 3 party members, but I didn't care. I wanted them all to have their own sets because apparently I was OCD.
It is a long time.
The hour timer stopped at 99 hours, 59 minutes, and 59 seconds, so I don't quite know how much time I put into it, but it was a lot. Thank you. I'll consider that achievement. Many professional psychologists would call it a psychological issue, but I consider it an achievement.
And we've got the achievement, especially since there's a lot of panel here next, so I'm going to have to say that about wraps up our time. So thank you guys so much for coming.